Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. This is Chrissy T and I'm back with the recap of Baddies East, and I'm just gonna hop right into it. So the episode opens up with Rollie and Suki. They're having a conversation about what I don't know, because there's really nothing for them to discuss. There is nothing for you to discuss with your opposition. And to me, at this point, your anger at Sapphire is in vain because you're talking with the adversary. But at the same time, I still see things from Suki's point of view. If an individual I'm cool with decides they want to beef with my best friend, then the person I'm cool with now becomes my adversary. If your best friend is faced with a challenge, Sapphire, you have to prioritize your loyalty. Your loyalty should always be to your best friend. Even if you on good terms with her adversary, it doesn't matter. Shout out to Tupac. He been said that. Sapphire is not to be trusted because your trust and loyalty is built on consistency, even in minor situation. If your loyalty falters in small matters, I doubt if you can be trusted in bigger matters, which makes things even more complicated because Suki is also talking to the adversary. But in Suki's defense, she has to be cool with the adversary because she and Sapphire are no longer aligned. Okay? Sapphire showed her that she can't be trusted. She's not loyal. So now she has to align herself with the adversary, which is Rollie and ET. And there seems to be a divide on Twitter saying Sapphire can redeem herself. Other people saying she can't. Let me know what y'all think. I don't think you can't redeem yourself from disloyalty. I'm sorry. Meanwhile, Rollie tells House A that she and Suki had, apologized to each other. Once again, we see Sapphire sitting pretty with the adversaries. You're sitting with the ops. And according to Rollie, Suki says she doesn't have a problem with ET, despite the fact that she threw a gallon of water on her and had her drenched from head to toe. Suki and Sapphire came on this show together, and Sapphire's lack of loyalty forced Suki in a position where she has to now befriend her enemies. Rollie demonstrated her loyalty to ET. So at this point, Suki's alignment with Rollie is probably what's needed right now because Sapphire showed her that she can't be loyal. So the only ally that she had, what she thought she had, was Sapphire, and she proved she can't be loyal. So in Sapphire's confessional, she said that she was happy seeing Rollie and Suki talk and laugh. My question for Sapphire is this: why are you happy that your friend was forced in a position that she now has to be friends with her op? You should feel embarrassed, not happy. Suki, keep this girl away from you. Keep her away from you. So moving on, Rollie tells Mariahlynn that Suki now has a problem with her. And Mariahlynn said, that's fine. And she looked unbothered. Mariahlynn feels like Suki is nitpicking with her. Suki had an issue with Mariahlynn making comments during a fight with Natalie and Scotty. Mariahlynn said it's giving weird, and Suki felt she should mind her business. And Suki had a point, but also, Suki, you should mind your business by not minding the business she's not minding. So even though Suki said these things to Mariahlynn, she still insists she has no problem with Suki. So Rollie said, well, you did have an issue when she said go home. And Mariahlynn said, yes, she did have an issue at that moment. She did feel some type of way, but she let it go. In this scene, Rollie is starting to raise her voice. So I know her hand already. She's trying to conjure up a fight. Okay, she's trying to invoke emotions in Mariahlynn so that she can get activated. Rollie wants to respond to Mariahlynn being activated, so that's why she's trying to instigate a fight. She's instigating a conflict between herself and Mariahlynn. Rollie is so predictable and calculated. I knew what she was doing when it started. So Mariahlynn says that she was told that Suki said something about she's not trying to fight her. And Rollie said, well, you shouldn't go off he say, she say stuff, which is crazy because that's the very thing that Rollie does all the time. And what she'll do in the next few seconds. So Rollie says to Mariah Lynn that She never heard Suki say F her son, but Mariah Lynn went back and told her. And then Sapphire had the nerve to chime in and tell her that once again, you inserted yourself with something that had nothing to do with you. Sapphire said that they were already fighting, so what was her point of adding fuel to the fire? She should have just shut the F up. Sapphire got real hyped in this situation. Cussing, ready to fight over minor issues. But when it came down to major issues like E.T. and Rollie tag teaming your friend, suddenly it's all about, I want to make peace. Their energy flips depending on the scale of the issue, because Rollie inserted herself in an argument between Suki and E.T. Where was this energy at then, Sapphire? So Mariah Lynn goes on to say that everyone in House A was talking about Suki. Does that mean Sapphire was too? Because Sapphire is in House A. And why were they comfortable to talk about her quote unquote best friend in her presence? So Rollie gets heated and tell her don't lie, because she has never talked behind Suki back. And then you have Sapphire, on the other hand, saying that Mariah Lynn was stirring the pot. And I agree. Why else would she tell Rollie something that Rollie didn't hear firsthand? Rollie didn't hear Suki say F her son, but Mariah Lynn went back and told her. Why? Because she wanted to stir the pot. So at this point, Mariah Lynn is being attacked by both Sapphire and Rollie. And the way Sapphire is pressing Mariah Lynn, I wish she would have pressed E.T. like that for throwing that drink in your friend's face. And the level of aggressiveness from Sapphire towards Mariah Lynn is unwarranted. It really isn't. This aggressiveness should have been directed towards E.T. and Rollie. Sapphire is an example of an imbalanced person. She's not consistent. You can't trust people like this. She's not consistent. She's aggressive over words, but not over her friend being tag team. She was ready to beat the brakes off Smiley because she thought Smiley lied about having a miscarriage. So Mariah Lynn finally decides she has had enough of being attacked from both Rollie and Sapphire, and she attempts to walk off. And as she leaving, she says that everybody else has problems with Suki, but they seem to only want to hold her feet to the fire. So Rollie gets her big behind up and screams, "Don't act like I'm a punk ass bitch," as she moves towards Mariah Lynn and threatens to smack the piss out of her. So as Rollie is threatening to smack the piss out of Mariah Lynn, E.T. is in her confessional, and she said, listen, I mess with Mariah Lynn, but at the end of the day, my bitch is Rollie. This is a type of loyalty that Sapphire should have given Suki. E.T. aligned herself with her best friend despite being cool with Mariah Lynn. Sapphire, take notes. So Mariah Lynn starts to leave. She talks to Natalie, and she pretty much said the same thing I said. Sapphire was quick to buck up at her, but when it came to Rollie and E.T., she was acting scared. No lies told. Like, I really need an explanation as to why Sapphire didn't have her best friend back. She in there trying to be the peaceman. You can't make peace with someone who threw a drink in your friend's face. That ain't peace. That ain't the time for peace. So Mariah Lynn, she goes on and she said that Rollie needs to take a bath and that she has dirt rings around her neck. At this point, Rollie, something going on, because we have heard things about your hygiene throughout this episode from episode 1. So something, Houston, we have a problem, Rollie. So later on, the ladies are at an excursion in Jamaica, I think. They're having a good old time. Sapphire tells Suki that the house had to check Mariah Lynn for talking ish about her. Well, Sapphire, you should have checked the house for talking shit about Suki. So Suki tells Mariah Lynn that she needs to be aware of who her real friends are. And Mariah Lynn said, well, tell me. And Suki said, well, I'm not your friend. So she goes on to tell Mariah Lynn that everyone keeps telling her that she's talking about her. And Mariah Lynn say, listen, they're talking about you too. It ain't just me. She didn't lie about it. She simply said, it's not just me. I believe her. I do believe they were all talking about her, but she's the only one with the balls to admit it. So Suki said that she did want Sapphire to fight Mariah Lynn, but she changed her mind. And she told Sapphire not to fight her because she knows Mariah Lynn can't fight. But Sapphire was willing and ready. She was ready to fight Mariah Lynn. Where was this willingness and readiness with E.T. and Rollie? So Sapphire and Mariah Lynn, they're arguing back and forth. They're raising their voices. And at one point, Mariah had her purse, and I think she was kind of fixing it on her shoulder, or maybe she took it off. I don't know. But Sapphire took that as, she taking her purse off. She trying to fight. So she tried to pop off on Mariah Lynn, and she got dragged, okay? She literally got dragged in the water head first. Once again, we see Sapphire embarrassing herself. That is the end of this episode. Next week we see, Mariah Lynn try to hit Suki. Well, she didn't try to hit her, she punched her. And Suki was like, we gotta go fight now. We gotta fight. So y'all, let me know what y'all think in the comments. I will see you next time. Bye.